follow us to Northern Italy, where the wine is divine and the love is completely secret and a little complicated. Also, there's some movie set there too on this episode of that song from that movie. Elio. All over.
Rosebud.
7 days.
Rosebud.
Thank you for joining that song from that movie, the journey through the very best and worst of movie songs. I am your book adaptation host, Dietrich, and joining us is, like Armie Hammer, a vegetarian in the sense that he only eats human meat, Alex.
Allegedly.
God, get all the disclaimers in there right now.
Allegedly.
The bite marks on my arm say differently.
Alleged bite marks.
Just thank God you're not Peach.
Allegedly.
And completing the lineup is the man disappointed he can't do his Italian accent as everybody is speaking French, Ben.
If this was a visual medium, I'm doing the thing with the fingers.
The finger thing. The finger thing means the Italians.
The finger thing, yeah. In the subtitles, it would say Italian gesturing.
I would like to know, in the past fortnight, what have you been watching?
I've been watching two very weird films.
Go on.
Ooh.
The Green Knight. Have either of you seen this film?
That is fucking weird.
Weird.
That is a really weird film.
It's got Dev Patel in it. It's based on a Arthurian legend.
Yeah.
It's a very strange film.
Yeah, it's stupidly strange.
It's like I once saw something where they describe David Lynch films. I don't understand them, but they compel me. And this is exactly the same. I don't understand this film, but it compelled me in some way, shape or form. So I watched that.
Yep.
I also watched the film Perfume. Have you guys ever seen that before?
Perfume? No.
That doesn't ring a bell.
That does not ring a bell.
God.
Is it like Cocktail?
It's absolutely not like Cocktail.
No,
it's based on a really famous book from the 80s. But it's got Ben Whishaw in it, and it's basically about a murderer, a person who kills people and turns them into perfume.
So what the film Cocktail should have been?
Yes. Sequel.
Yeah.
It's a very, very interesting film.
Okay, well, a recent film.
No, it's from like 2006, I think.
Okay.
It's got Dustin Hoffman in it, it's got Alan Rickman in it, it's got Ben Whishaw in it.
Alan Rickman.
So I think it's on Prime, maybe. Would recommend, but it's not an entirely enjoyable experience. It's a very strange film.
Andy Lau recommend.
No, I don't think Andy Lau would watch this film.
Oh, well.
Wow. Okay.
Even Andy Lau wouldn't watch it. It must be shit. I have seen Killers of the Flower Moon. There was no more time to watch any other film because it's long. It's just too long. I feel like I've been psyching myself up to see this film for about 2 weeks.
Was it longer than The Irishman?
It's similar. But The Irishman, you watched at home because it was on Netflix.
Yes.
So like, I could break it up. I could go and make myself a coffee and, just chill out and maybe look at the sun every so often. I couldn't do that with this film. It's good. It is very, very, very good. But it does feel, because it's slow, you know how long it is and you can feel the length of time. A bit like how I found, I don't know, when I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's like, it's good, but I can tell this is a long film. I want a long film to be like, gosh, where has that time gone? I knew where it had gone.
Where have those 7 hours gone?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a problem with people, I guess, like Scorsese and Tarantino. No one's going to tell them no anymore, so they can just be self-indulgent with their 4-hour films. They don't take notes.
Which is fine if it's an intermission,
well,
like there was in one of Tarantino's films, whatever it was called. Hateful Eight? Is it that one?
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't see it at the cinema. D, anything for you?
I'm going to be boring and say no.
Oh, God, you haven't watched the film.
No, I have been busy. I've watched the film we've watched today, and I rewatched Bullet Train at my in-laws' house.
I fell asleep during that film.
It's fine. It's if you've watched Lock, Stock or Snatch and don't want to watch a film as good as those two, then watch Bullet Train.
If you don't want to watch a film as good as that.
Right, okay. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling positively peachy because we're breaking down the songs of Call Me By Your Name. So to find out what was happening in the world when the movie came out.
Time for some history.
Peach Story.
This thing. Why does this film get boiled down to the fucking peach? Anyway, We don't have to go too far back for this one because Call Me By Your Name only came out in October 2017. Looking for some news from this time, AI calculated the world's 10 greenest cities. There's one English city in that list. So the world's 10 greenest cities, what do we think?
Green meaning like more trees or
not
environmentally
yet. Yes, not 420 Blaze. I mean, they asked AI what's the greenest cities, so I don't think logic will prevail. 2017 AI as well, not even 2023 AI.
Scunthorpe.
Close.
Southampton.
Grimsby.
Nowhere near. Nowhere near Scunthorpe. What's an obvious thing? What's an obvious answer?
London.
No. Why would London is not green?
Because I just assumed that it was wrong. But okay.
What do you think? Like, people not from England, where might they think is like where would you picture in the film that always looks very fancy?
Cornwall.
No, in films, Cornwall looks like backwater.
I don't know.
I'm back to London again though.
Cambridge.
Oh,
that's London.
I mean, I would.
Any quick guesses on what the number one greenest city is according to this AI
In Europe.
in the world?
In the world.
One guess.
Rio de Janeiro.
Reykjavik.
No, Singapore. Anyway, the 12-sided coin came out.
There we
The
are.
£1 coin, that is.
Oh, right.
12 sides. Did it change your world?
I think it's superior.
It's definitely superior. Have you ever gone back to the original pound coins for like a trolley or something?
No, because they don't take them anymore, do they? They do.
My trolley does. Trolley at Lidl does.
Yeah, the one at my local Morrison's definitely does.
Exactly, see? That's why I leave them in there, little prizes for people.
I've always liked the coin within the coin. I really enjoy the £2 coin, and now I enjoy the £1 coin.
And do you enjoy the myth about if you can get the silver bit out without breaking the gold bit, you win like £1 million from the Royal Mint?
Like, what? No, I mean, I enjoy that exists and people, but if someone believes it, but I don't.
Give it a go, Alex. See if you can do it.
And is it? It's the same coin, isn't it? Is it two? Is it one bed embedded within the other? It's just one coin, isn't it?
Also, in other news, the UK bans the sale of acid to under 18-year-olds.
Woke culture gone mad.
Acid the drug.
When was it? When was it ever? No actual burning acid, for valid reasons. But under 18s, I did not know we could buy acid as children.
So many wasted years.
So many wasted years. Before we move on, I had a look what films came out in October 2017. Now, this may be slightly pretentious, but I honestly think this might be the greatest month of film in a long time. So, films that came out in October 2017. Call Me By Your Name, obvious. Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Florida Project, Loving Vincent, God's Own Country, Brawl in Cell Block 99, Killing of a Sacred Deer. There's a long list of 8s and 9s in that list. You seen any of them?
Yep.
Good. Moving on. The only one that matters there on that list is Call Me By Your Name, which is the film we are talking about today. If you haven't seen it, Call Me By Your Name is a coming-of-age film directed by Luca Guadagnino, based on the 2007 novel of the same name. So the film, set in northern Italy in 1983, chronicles the romantic relationship between the introspective 17-year-old ELIO and the confident 24-year-old grad student Oliver. The film stars the likes of Timothee Chalamet Ding Dong and Armie Hammer in the key roles, alongside a lovely supporting cast of Amira Kassar, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Esther Gorel. What do you think about this film, guys?
Alex, can you go first for this? Because I really want to hear what you two think of it first before I give my opinion.
Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Interesting. Dee's about to trash it.
Yes, well, I think that this film is just divine. I think it is one of my favourite films for the last 10 years. I just really like this film. I mean, I don't care what Dee's about to say, because I just really enjoy this film.
I do, Alex. That's what's disappointing me.
I think the setting is incredible. The way it's shot is like perfection, like those kind of like long, lingering shots of the atmosphere but the way the scenes kind of unfold in sort of there's like they move almost in silence, but they say so much. Script is kind of nothing but everything at the same time. It's very economic.
All very dialectic.
Tense. Yeah, it's quiet, but it's kind of filled with like this tense passion. I was watching some of the scenes again. I haven't seen it for a year or two, but I was watching some of the scenes earlier, and there's a scene in kind of the middle of the film where they're sort of in like a piazza, and it kind of all unfolds in one shot, and they kind of have a conversation about, what they're, how they're actually feeling without saying it, and what they're planning to do without ever kind of coming to it. And I think there's just loads of scenes like that where everything is inferred but nothing is said, and it just kind of really, it's just a very still film that you can watch and just kind of take in. And yeah, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it the first time I watched it. I've not seen it again since, but yeah, I just really think I thought it was great, to be honest. Regardless of what Dee says.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to that, to be fair. I saw this film in the cinema. I think Alex pointed it. I think it might be maybe one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen, just to look at. I think there's a weird, I forget what it's called in a film, but it's like having a nostalgia for something that you have no connection to, like you've never been. But like I think the setting, that house, and the area around it, I think, and we'll talk a bit about that actually, but I think it might honestly be the most beautiful place in the world, how it's shot. But for some reason, I don't know how it's done, and I think that we'll come into the music as well, because I think that does help. It makes you feel like you've been there, or you're looking back at something in a very sort of quite melancholic way, actually. Because I don't, like Alex said, I don't think there's a great amount of beauty in the dialogue, or the substance in what they're saying, but I could just stare at this film. I could almost watch it on silence in a lot of ways.
I think you almost can, can't you? And that's kind of the point of the script, is that it never gets in the way of what's going on, because it's what's I don't know, it's going into that Simpsons line about the notes that they don't play, but it's the things they don't say in the film that make it so good, I think. But
yeah, I mean, they say we struggle with it in England or Western cultures, because someone told me once. So Japanese has a word, is it ma? I think it is, which means like the space between things. And if you watch like Japanese anime, there's often like just still shots of just nothing, and the characters are often just sitting. And I think if you watch some like European films, they do that a lot. Most Western films, I think it's because we are not mindful as a culture that we can't just sit and we can't just watch nothing. And so I think it can sometimes be quite jarring to have a film like this in front of you, where there is just a lot of sitting, and sometimes, like Alex pointed out, sometimes the characters are just sitting looking at each other, and you kind of have to do a lot of inference of your own. And there's no like actual answer of like how they might be interacting or why their motivations or drives. You're making it all up yourself in a lot of ways, and that can be quite jarring. But for me, I think this is one of the great examples of where it feels quite unique. Now, Dee, what's your thoughts?
I was interested to hear what you guys thought about the movie before I gave my opinion, because honestly, I'm sort of struggling with it.
Yep.
I would rate it, and bear with me with this, anywhere between a 3 out of 10 and a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. But somewhere between there. And each time I'd be convinced I've got the rating right in my head, but then I'd remember something. It's like, say I thought it was something, if I thought it was a 3 out of 10, I'd go, yeah, it's 3 out of 10. But then I'd remember something that I appreciated about the film, like, much like you guys have said, like the way it captures like the warmth of Italy.
Oh yeah, wow.
Like it feels like you're there. Some of the shots are absolutely stunning, and I'd want to bump it up. Like 3 out of 10 is a ridiculous score to give it based on that. But equally, another time I'd think, let's give it 7 out of 10. And then I think of something that I really disliked about the film. Like, I just did not understand Timothée Chalamet's performance. It was robotic.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Alex pointed out the bit where they're in the piazza about how I know it wasn't exactly a one take, I don't think. But it was.
I think it's like it's like a fake one take, isn't it? I think they do pan up to the sky at one point.
Yeah, if there's any cuts in it, there's not many. But there's parts in that where I was sort of looking at the screen thinking, when he's not speaking, why is Timothée Chalamet forgetting to act? I think it's that same scene where Oliver shows ELIO his like wound on his abdomen.
Yeah.
And until it's his time to say his line, he's not even like concentrating. It's like he doesn't think the camera's on him.
Yeah, I get that.
That would make me want to knock it back down to a lower range. So yeah, I was sort of struggling with it. I know on this podcast a lot, every week almost, and I'm definitely culpable for it. We mock Harry Styles.
Do we do it every week?
We do it a lot.
We do it a lot.
It feels like a film.
Yeah, so like, I do think this feels like a movie. Feels like a movie, but not in the sense that I think he meant it. Like, to me, I felt like I was watching a movie. It didn't feel real. Like, I could see the seams of each scene. And maybe back to the thing about being able to see performances turning on and off in scenes. But I never believed that there were real people living a real life. So yeah, it felt like a movie.
Wow, gosh. But like, there's so many like background characters in this film, like when they're setting up for that dinner, or like they're playing at there's little discotheque sort of on the street, or there's like the guy like fixing the bike in the background. To me, that just feels so real because they just look like that makes me think like, you know what, they might actually just live there and they're just extras. Like, to me, they just don't look like they're actors.
The bit when Armie Hammer's allowed to actually act when they go on that trip to Bergamo is probably the best bit of the film.
Okay.
He suddenly feels like someone's, and you could maybe argue that's on purpose because they are on holiday. It feels like someone said, okay, Armie, go and act your heart out in this scene. But at the same time, you've got Timothée Chalamet going beep boop in the background. Like, I've seen better depictions of like LGBT romance and better European movies about hidden love. And I don't consider myself a connoisseur of slow cinema, but I think I've seen better movies in this style. But I also don't think this is a bad movie until I start thinking about it, and then I get back to the same problem I had before of going, it's bad, but wait, that was good. Oh, it's good, but that was bad, and that's where I'm at with it.
I get that. I can accept that.
And hopefully that I haven't disappointed anybody who was expecting me to rip it apart.
If anyone's relying on you, it's fine. No, I get that. I think there are one or two bits where I think I find aspects of the performance jarring, but I still find it real. Like, I think it's jarring just because of a disconnect from my own experience, and I think that might be more that.
I think for me it was those sort of things that you're pointing out. He actually made it feel more authentic. Weirdly, it felt like his character Timothée Chalamet. I don't know what he said at the beginning. His character was kind of was acting. He wanted to act cool, didn't he? Because he was the younger of the two. He wanted to kind of and as well.
Yeah, he's a 17-year-old trying to make himself more. I guess a guy comes in who's a 6'4". I guess Adonis-like intelligence, confidence. It's all those things, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's the whole point of the fact that they can't be too close together in front of other people. There's that tension is always there, so it felt like that's kind of what he was trying to do with it. It was more like that there's always some kind of blocker in the way, which I think kind of comes into that really great scene at the end with the dad, which is such a great performance that scene where he gives that speech.
I was going to mention that because I think that might be the best sort of like speech. Like one of the best speeches in films, because I think the dad is such an honest character.
Yes, almost to the point of being earnest. Yeah, but it's
almost to the point of being earnest. Yeah, especially when there's that uncomfortable scene where he's just like, "I almost bedded this woman last night," and the dad's like, "Okay, fair."
Yes. Yeah, but I see what you're saying, Dean, about parts of it.
Thank you.
I mean, like I say, I do think the greatest thing of the film is the setting. And Luca Guadagnino was originally hired not as a director but as a location scout because he lives in Bergamo, which is where most of the film was shot. And you can tell. I was thinking of films like how good when you can tell a director is from an area in how they shoot, and just that genuineness. Like, you know, when someone shoots London who's not from London. Do you know what I mean? Even if we're not from there.
It looks like Atlanta.
Yeah, and that's the thing, as controversial as Woody Allen actually is, he knows New York, and when you can tell how he films New York is different. Or Noah Baumbach, how he films New York. And I think Greta Gerwig, when she did Lady Bird in Sacramento, like, it feels like this, you lived here. You know this place. And, God, this just makes Northern Italy just look so amazing. It's incredible.
Yeah, lived in is exactly how it feels. It feels like a real. Well, I guess it is a real place, but like.
Well, no, it wasn't. I think they spent like 3 months doing the house. It's not like it is a set.
It feels like it has been filmed on location.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it definitely does. But yeah, to say he was initially hired as a location consultant, he's done quite well. Alex, are you familiar with the book at all?
No. I only knew it was based on a book.
Alex.
I know the second week.
I know, Alex. The two things we rely on in this podcast: D, to have seen the film for the first time, and you to have read the book that it's based on. God's sake, Alex.
The dad was in Men in Black 3. There you go.
Okay, thanks for bringing us back down to earth, D. So Luca Guadagnino said that the book and the film is about the indulgence in the melancholy of lost things. Now, that's a pretentious sentence. But I don't know what it is. There is something about this film that makes you feel like you've been there, but like there's a longing for it. And that the indulgence in it, I think, is that it just sits and just lets you focus and take it all in. It is not rushing through anything, is it? Really?
Yeah, and I think you know from the beginning that it's not going to end happily.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think the first time I watched it, I think I was like, yeah, this is a sad ending. But then rewatching that father scene is that actually a part of the beauty of life.
Well, that's kind of melancholy is the right word, isn't it? Because it's sad, but it's kind of there's something more
embracing the pain.
Yeah.
So the film did pretty well on the circuit. It gained a number of accolades. It got various nominations for screenplay, direction, acting, and music. It received 4 nominations at the 90th Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Actor for 22-year-old Shyamalan Ding Dong. And it won for Best Adapted Screenplay. It won various other awards on the circuit. And yeah, I think it did pretty well for a sort of small indie darling film. Interestingly, initially Shia LaBeouf read for the film. Now that's a different film.
For which role? For the Timothee Chalamet or Armie Hammer?
Both.
It would have been good if it was both. Yeah, that would have been really interesting.
What, just the two sides of Shia LaBeouf, the incredibly machismo dominating and the sort of the soft underbelly that he can. The
guy
show.
from Even Stevens.
The guy from Even Stevens. That's a film for the future of AI.
Yeah, I do think that he probably would have put in a better performance than Timothée Chalamet, in my opinion.
It's interesting that I think Timothée Chalamet for many pretentious flaws that he has he's a bloody pretentious boy. I do think he is a good actor. I mean, I may change that when that Willy Wonka film comes out, but
doesn't look good, does it?
It does. Well, no, it's just like, why the flipping heck have we got another Willy Wonka film?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with him. I just don't understand why they're making that film.
No,
Willy Wonka's not the hero of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, absolutely, and you know, I guess also the pretentiousness of him, of a American kid that can also speak fluent Italian and French, probably helped quite a lot for this film. I mean, that's the thing. I think that's the agree to disagree. I do think he's really good in this. And I think Armie Hammer is wooden at the best of times, but at some times he is also quite good in this, as controversial as these people are. Now, as much as I said I hate that this film gets known for, it's the film with the peach thing, I have to talk about the peach thing. It was almost removed from the film. So there's quite a few scenes actually that were removed, and they filmed a lot for this before eventually cutting out. Yeah, they were thought about removing it. There's some awkward things you read about, like they didn't think you could actually masturbate with a peach. By the way, that's what happens in this scene. If you've not seen the film, I can see that you've actually pricked up now and you're actually listening. and then it says that him and the director, I hasten to add separately, tried this out. Now that is an uncomfortable thing. Imagine that conversation.
Was it the same peach?
I don't want to even answer that one, Dietrich.
It all comes back to American Pie, there, doesn't it?
Unfortunately, that's just the comparison that I always make. Of just like, this is just a sexually charged boy, and I know that's the point because the scene is in the book, and it is supposed to signify, I guess, that is how he is in that stage of life, I guess, of 17, just a very puberty-ridden boy, with incredibly confusing feelings and just trying to figure himself out. And puts out his frustrations, enjoyments, whatever, into this peach. But I remember watching it in the cinema and thinking, I was all of a sudden just very aware of myself.
And everyone around.
It was almost as if, like, my parents, even though I live in a completely different city to them, were about to walk into the scene and say, "Time for bed, Ben," and they just happened to walk in during this scene.
Meanwhile, there's a guy sat the road down from me, just casually eating a peach. Juice dripping down his chin.
In his trench coat, yeah. He came in just for this scene and then left. Any comments to make on this one? I do think they should have just taken it out because of those comparisons.
Yeah, I mean, my initial response is that it reminds me of American Pie, which probably shouldn't.
Yeah, it could not be further away from this film.
I can't remember how I felt about it when I saw this scene. My initial... I feel like at the time I thought it did take me out of the film a bit. But I can't really remember. It is a weird scene.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever reach an age where I can go to the cinema and see a some form of sexual scene and not just go, oh my, and be just all of a sudden aware of myself.
Do you have like a pearl necklace that you're clutching?
Well, no, it's always an example of this. I always remember that we went to the Leeds Film Festival years and years ago with a friend, and saw Blue is the Warmest Colour, which is again another sort of LGBT French movie, very good. Now there's a scene in that sort of a sex scene, and the lady next to me was probably in her late 80s, maybe. Now, that's a very graphic scene, goes on for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes. She was making murmurings all the way through of just like, oh my, oh dear, and things like that. When that scene ended, I was so relieved that these two ladies were now having breakfast and thinking, oh, thank God that's over. And then they went straight back at it. And then we were in for another 5-minute scene, and she was just like, again? And things like this. And I was like, I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. And if that's not trauma, I don't know what is. Before we go into talking about the music from this film, the soundtrack's actually quite interesting because the soundtrack also has a lot of sort of popular 80s pop songs. The film is set in 1983, so I guess it's trying to give that vibe, as well as more orchestral pieces. There's a great scene of Armie Hammer's terrible dancing while it plays the Psychedelic Furs, yes. Love My Way.
Such a good scene.
Which is it's a fantastic song as well. And I do like that balance. Now, there's something in the book that doesn't happen in the film, which is that the book is told from a retrospect of an older, I think it's an older ELIO looking back at this summer. So it almost has a narration through it. Now, originally, the film was going to have a voiceover narration. I'm really glad they didn't do with that.
Yes, I am as well.
Yeah.
But one of the people they looked at doing the narration was the American singer-songwriter Sufjan Stevens, who is what we're going to be talking about now. Sufjan Stevens contributed 3 songs to this film, 2 of which we want to focus on today, which is Mystery of Love and Visions of Gideon. The first one that does appear in the film, which acts as the single that was released for this film, is Mystery of Love. The song features in the film. It plays as Elio and Oliver go on their hiking trip to Bergamo in northern Italy, which is about 2/3 through the film, and it kind of signifies their, like, I don't know, the honeymoon period, I suppose, of their budding relationship, just before, I guess, it starts to wind down with Oliver leaving to go back to, we assume, America. What's your thoughts on this song?
My first thought was at the time, oh, it's that song from the Sony Bravia adverts. Jose Gonzalez's Heartbeats.
Oh, what, the Bouncing Balls song?
Yeah.
Well, they're quite wispy, aren't they?
It is similar, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. They're 2 peas in a pod, which is interesting because I also have one for the other song we're concentrating on where I played it and my wife instantly said a different song.
Okay,
and I was like, oh, God,
I'm interested.
There's 2 of these?
I'm interested.
It's much like Heartbeats, I guess. It's a very nice song. I'm going to be honest, I couldn't remember where it was in the film until I watched it back earlier today.
Yeah.
Unlike the later song where it was pretty obvious where that was used.
Well, yes, I think because that does come central. Yeah, Mystery of Love is used as a backing. Like, it cuts in and out as well over, like, dialogue or just louder. I think it's a bit when they're in a waterfall and you can hear that more than the music. It's definitely put to the background. It's not the thing you're supposed to focus on.
Yes. Now you said the thing about the waterfall, I do remember thinking, I can't hear the song.
Yeah. Well, I think it slowly ebbs out at that point. Alex?
I really like the song. I think it's really nice. I think this is because like I've occasionally heard this song and the other song since the film, and I couldn't quite remember which one was where, because obviously I know there's the one that features at the end of the song, and I know that the main song was something else, but I always, when I hear them side from the film, I do forget which is which and which one features where.
Yeah.
But listening back to this one, I do like this one. I think I kind of like the lyrically how it kind of connects to the film. It kind of relates like love to kind of like, there's a lot of biblical references. There's a lot of
there's like historical references as well.
Historical references, natural like references like riverbeds and birds and things. And I think it's kind of just picking up on those kind of, you know, like how it's unfolded is kind of a mystery in itself, isn't it? And I guess it just kind of really works for me as tonally with the film, and the lightness of it as well kind of links to the sort of the stillness of the film. Well, I guess it's sort of, it fits to those nice, still, comfortable moments of the film. I think obviously the later song we'll get on to kind of is a different tonally, but I think
it is.
Yeah, because you do have the 80s music, which is all like you said with the Psychedelic Furs, which is much more up tempo, much more of the time.
Well, it's diegetic, isn't it? It's in the film.
Whereas this does, it hints at something higher, I suppose. And I guess that kind of links to this kind of retrospective, nostalgic view of the past that this song is a contemporary song. So it's almost, that adds to the looking back on, like a song that reminds you of a time kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think that works nicely.
And that was the intention. That was Luca Guadagnino, so he selected the music for the film from its 80s pop music to what he wanted, and I guess picking Sufjan Stevens, he wanted the music to almost be, I guess, like the book of ELIO reflecting on this experience, on this film. And there's a bit when this song first starts, Mystery of Love, they're on a bus going to Bergamo, and it almost becomes quite home video-esque. Like there's like a shaking camera looking at the road as it goes round, which feels very home video, almost like, you're thinking back, you're looking back at this time. And that kind of, I guess deep, how you put it, that wispy voice, like Jose Gonzalez or something, of feels quite nostalgic. There's something, or melancholic. This is a bit more upbeat version than Visions of Gideon, but it's still really soft. And I don't think it wants to take sort of like your attention or dominate. It's just supposed to like just ebb and flow in the background, while still kind of being enveloping. I guess, like often a lot of the comparisons you made at the start, Alex, this film is a combination of extremes. Like, it's saying a lot when it's saying nothing, things like this. And this song, I feel like, is that. It's actually took me many times of listening to it to actually think about the lyrics, because it just seems to just almost it could just disappear in the background if I wanted it to, or it could have 1,000 meanings if I really want to pay attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, on that, it's lofty, isn't it? It's lofty in terms of its references to history, to religion, but it's grounded in its reference to the natural, like the rivers, the grass.
Absolutely. But that's also quite ELIO, isn't it? ELIO is trying to impress by being like higher, by his musical talents, his musings on history, like his father, or I guess like Oliver is. And there's the scene, I guess, with his father at the end where he's saying like, ELIO saying basically they weren't a good match because Oliver was too intelligent. He was better than me. And I think there's an aspect of ELIO that is constantly, I guess, just quite pretentious. He is making big, large comparisons, while at the same time this is such a small experience in his life, probably, that he's looking back on, of just, 6 weeks over a summer? It's not a lot, and yet there's a level of significance that comes with that.
Yeah.
So yes, Luca Guadagnino was impressed by the lyricism of Sufjan Stevens. He asked him to record an original song for the film, and he also asked him to narrate, which they both eventually agreed this does not work. Sufjan Stevens was given a script of the film. He was also given the novel, which apparently he loved, and through various conversations with Guadagnino about the characters and specifically about ELIO, he came up with these songs. This was the first time Sufjan Stevens has ever written songs explicitly for a feature film soundtrack. He's not someone that is, I think, an incredibly famous artist, at least. I always knew of his name, but, all his music to me sounds like this. There's nothing like... He's not a single kind of guy. Or even though this song has almost 500 million plays on Spotify, which is not bad for a sort of amusing little ticket.
That is quite impressive.
It is.
He must be making at least £5 on that.
Well, he's probably he's done well then, clearly. The song was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song at the 2018 Oscars, and it lost out to Remember Me from Coco.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That film rips me apart.
Oh, really? I loved it when I saw it, and I've not watched it since.
It's a good film.
I don't think I can watch it back.
Well, I've watched it about 20 times, so...
Yeah, I can imagine. At the 61st Grammys, it received a nomination for Best Song Written for Visual Media. It lost out to Shallow by Lady Gaga. Now that went into the year later's Oscar, so Shallow won in 2019. The soundtrack itself for Call Me By Your Name also received a nomination for Best Compilation Soundtrack for Visual Media. It lost out to The Greatest Showman, which I get.
It's a great soundtrack.
It's got some bang. It has got some
bangers
bang.
on there.
I think I always forget, like, the soundtrack is good. The film is shit. Yeah,
unlike the film.
Yeah, the film is not good.
The other main song by Sufjan Stevens in Call Me By Your Name is called Visions of Gideon. Now, this song even though it was not the single for the film, is given more attention. So as the film comes to a close, after some time has passed, ELIO's called Oliver and found out he's getting married. He's had this sort of reflective moment, lights the fire, and just stares at the camera, more or less, or just off camera as the credits roll, and we are just there to watch ELIO cry and reflect while the song plays over the top. What are your thoughts of the song or the scene?
I really remember the scene, but like I said, I get the two songs mixed up, which is weird because they are tonally very different. And I think like when you watch it, like, oh yeah, no, it is this one. I was like, I'm sure it's the one that's like Visions of Gideon. That's the end one, and it was when I watched the scene back earlier.
It's a bit more piano heavy. It's a bit more echoey piano, as the first one's echoey guitar. That's how I separate them.
Yeah, it's a bit darker in terms of tone and like distant, I think, whereas the other one sounds a bit warmer, a bit closer. This one's a bit has that area
absolutely.
feeling. I think it's a really great end scene, and it's almost like you're watching it thinking, "Is this the end?" And then like the name of the film pops up in that like a really nice graphic, and it's like, oh, God,
yeah, I know it is a bit jarring, isn't it? It's a bit...
Every time it gets me, I'm like, oh God. And then there's a lady in the background with the plates. Is it his mum or someone who worked? I think it's in fact there's a couple of people.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There's also a fly on his shirt.
Yeah, there's a fly.
Yeah.
It's the winter. It's breaking my immersion.
Yeah, because I think flies come up like earlier in the film. I think at some point.
There is a bit where there's one on his like knee. Yeah,
and there's a fly. And it just bothers me every time I see a scene.
This is so interesting.
Yeah, I like this song as well. I think there's this repetition of this line. Is it a video? Which I think comes up a lot in the beginning of the song.
Is it a video?
Is it a video? Which I think ties into what we were just saying about looking back on a moment, like this is something replaying, almost like pause, stop, it can be repeated, but it's something that has happened, not something that is still happening.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's looking back on this time of something that, because you think there's often the kind of line for this sort of thing is talking about a photograph, like a still image or something.
Yeah,
but look at this photograph, Jack.
Sorry, my brain instantly went to Nickelback. I can imagine this scene with that playing.
Yes.
Look at this graph.
I think it's images can be moving, can't they? Video can be the same as an image. It's something that is locked in time and place.
I like that actually, because I think initially I took it as like that. When you are watching home videos, sometimes it's almost like I myself have forgot that thing actually happened.
Which I think is also true. I think that also works. Like, is it a video or is it just a memory? I suppose is kind of the question that's been posed as well. So yeah, I think that's right too.
And the memory, it does disconnect from the feeling, and I think that harks back to that conversation with his dad of like, hold on to this because by the age of 30, and it really hurt me this as someone who's 32, and he's like, your heart might be worn out and your body's coming soon, more or less. But there's that thing, like, I think I've started doing more as I've gone to like concerts and stuff like that. People are filming, and I used to be so eye rolling, and I'm like, you know what? I can't remember a lot of this stuff now. I wish I recorded these more. Because I think there's an element of that, like, sometimes there's reminders and keeping connected to certain experiences. There's a part of it sometimes to just experience it and feel it and connect with it. And there's sometimes of, you know what, I just want to remember. Or is it more than that? And I do like what that song does conjure up, especially with this scene. And I know what you said before, Dee, about Timothée Chalamet. To say this is just focusing on his face for like 5 minutes and he slowly cries, I think it's heartbreaking.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And I completely agree. I think that this, you
can't squirt the eyes with the water things.
But I mean, he's staring at fire from like a couple of yards away, so it would make any
yeah, it's just burning. He's slowly on fire.
But yeah, I think this idea of the video being something that is fixed in place is kind of the sad thing about him. In the lyrics, it says something like, "I've loved you for the last time. I've touched you for the last time," and it's like
it's gone.
He almost doesn't want it to be a video. He wants it to be something that
I get that. That's
go beyond rather than stuck.
It's not just a memory. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it really works with, again, tone of the film, and you can tell that he's read the book, he's read the script, he's written these songs for the film, which we don't always see, do we? We're doing this podcast now for like a couple of years.
and I think we've said so many times it's a travesty that so many of the best original song nominations are credit songs, and even though this is kind of a credit, it's for the film, it's part of the film, it's a dying art in it, isn't it?
Yeah. So, Alex, did you say you didn't like The Fly? Like, it annoys you?
Well, it just I can't tell whether it was an intentional callback or whether it's just there just happens to be a fly there, but it's winter. It's like, would there be just a fly there? Why are you going to say that you like that there's a fly?
He loves The Fly. His favourite actor is The Fly.
Honestly, The Fly, the rest of the world continuing on whilst he's moping.
Moping.
That, to me, was the ballsy shot of the film that they actually nailed. The Fly is a great example of, like, he's still, but the rest of the world is moving.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
I suppose the woman in the background is
And
that.
if the fly wasn't there, if the person wasn't there, it could have just been like a officer and a gentleman freeze frame ending. without that, it loses its impact.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point.
Yeah, you're damn right.
Yeah, and I agree in terms of the people in the background. I don't think it really works there, but I think it really draws the focus away. And I feel like it's unintentional. I don't know whether it was an
I don't think they've thrown the fly.
I actually did think for a while it was CGI, to be honest.
CGI
Oh,
fly.
did you?
I don't think there's any CGI in this film, other than removing the blood around Armie Hammer's mouth. Anyway, allegedly.
It's peach juice. It's just
Allegedly,
peach juice.
it's peach juice, guys. It's peach juice. I hope it was a different peach.
Anyway, I really love the song.
Yeah,
I much prefer this song to the previous one. I feel like it has more of an emotional punch. Much like I was saying, it sort of makes you question about what not so much what is real, but what, when you think of a memory, how much of it is idealized and how much of it is actually capturing what happened in the moment, which a video would.
Yeah.
If you're wondering what the song was, where I started playing it and
Here we
the
go.
suggestion was it's something else, do you have any guesses before I say
Don't
it?
ruin this for me, D. I love this song.
It's a really good song.
Okay, no, good. I thought you were going to make some sort of reference to like that song from Rick and Morty.
Oh, well, I mean, that's a good song too, but no, it's Video Games by Lana Del Rey.
See, I think Sufjan Stevens sings in a very similar way to Lana Del Rey because it is very melancholic, wistful.
Yeah, I mean, Lana Del Rey's songs are very cinematic anyway, aren't they, as well?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Also breathy.
What's weird is I played that to be like, would it fit over the scene? And literally the first lines are, swinging in the backyard, you pull up in your fast car, whispering my name.
But then the video games bit wouldn't work. The video games bit wouldn't work. Unless, I don't know what video games were out in 83.
Well, I mean, it's the 80s, the dawn of video games, Atari. Some stuff Atari.
There's not a lot of facts about this song, but the one thing I did find that Sufjan Stevens had written Visions of Gideon before they shot this scene. Chalamet's got an earpiece in while he's listening to the song. So he is listening to the song as that scene is happening. So I guess what we're hearing, he is also hearing as he acts to it, which I am sure would help.
Yeah.
Help get the emotional response.
They could have just played it out to the room. Why didn't it need to be in his earpiece?
To be fair, I think it's probably easy to connect to
Bit of
something if you
post-production.
can just there's lot like what I imagine. I still don't know how people do it. Like there's just like 15 people just staring at you as you're looking in a fire, trying to be all.
Well, which probably isn't a fire, is it? It's a camera. So that's.
I don't. He does light a fire just before.
Yeah, he's facing a family just before, but then that obviously the camera is right in his face.
Well, yeah, the camera's not going to be in the fire. Yeah, Luca's slowly screaming.
Yeah, because the camera would be in the fire.
Maybe they have one of like those fake, like water vapor fires instead.
It's just one of those ones where it's like a bit of fabric and it bloods underneath.
Yes, I don't think. Yeah, I think that would be too distracting for him trying to cry.
It kind of ruined the illusion of it being like an old Northern Italian house as well, when it's got a British Council House electric heater.
Top 5.
Top 5 time. This one was a hard pull to get because I came up with the top 5 and thought, oh, this is clever. And then everyone has different opinions. So I've managed to roughly collect, but this is rough. I wanted to know, what are the top 5 films in which the film title is a name?
Just a name, no other words.
Well, see, this is the difficulty because sometimes
Harry
the
Potter
name
and
is
the Philosopher's Stone.
no, so they didn't get. So none of the Harry Potters came up because they're not good films. I said it.
Yes.
Phew. Amelie.
You know what? I thought Amelie would be in, but no, wasn't.
Lucy.
What's that, Lucy? No, that's shit.
Alfie.
No, Alfie, no.
Jackie Brown.
Ooh, that's a good one.
No. One's a film we've already covered.
A film we've already covered. Shrek.
Shrek. Fantastic. Shrek at number 4.
Shrek 2?
Number 1 is a British classic. I say classic almost. It's a fairly recent film, but it's almost one of the greatest films ever. A true family
I
film.
think you said like Lawrence of Arabia or something.
Paddington 2.
Paddington.
The first one?
Yeah, apparently.
What? Everyone knows the second one is
I mean,
better.
Paddington 2. Yeah, Paddington 2. Yeah, but most people put Paddington in the list.
But that's not even his name. His name is...
Go on then. Keep going.
You know, we went to the National History Museum and they were filming Paddington, the new one, whilst we were there.
No.
Unfortunately, we didn't see the bear.
Paddington 3.
Was Ben Whishaw there in a green suit?
The Queen's spirit was there.
Holding there. Are they all children's films?
No. So Paddington was first, Shrek was fourth. Second was two people's names. Now, I don't agree with this one because one's a name and the other one's a sort of like a moniker. Film is 1969. We've covered it on this podcast, actually. One of the first films we covered.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
That's the one, yes. Next one is, number 3 is one of the great films, one of the great epics, is a Stanley Kubrick
Ben-Hur.
film. No, see, it wasn't Ben-Hur. Stanley Kubrick film. One of his lesser known films.
Not Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
No, you know what? I went through about 20 lists. It was in one, and it was number 3 in one list. Now, I think that's shocking.
I know the film you mean. It's, what's it called?
His full name.
Barry Lyndon.
Barry Lyndon, well done. The last one is a Hitchcock. It's just the first name.
Rebecca.
And it's a very good Rebecca. Yes, it is a very good one. Now, I held your hand through all that. You guys should move on.
I mean, that was very hard. That was a very hard.
I know, honestly, but the fucking list putting together was impossible. I thought, there's not that many films with name titles. There is.
Okay, so now it's time in the episode where we decide what's better, the movie or the song. But also, there was more than one song, so we'll also do best song.
Hey.
Alex, take it away.
Oh God, this is actually really hard.
Alex, you act as if we've surprised you with a feature that has existed for over 90 episodes.
No, I didn't know whether we were doing the songs or whether we were doing the film or song. So we're doing film or songs with an S, plural.
I suppose.
I guess, yeah.
Film, still. I'm gonna go for film. It is really hard because I do really like songs. I do think that the songs really perfectly suit the film, but I don't think the songs are needed to make the film what it is. I mean, this is often the thing that we say, unfortunately, is that the songs don't always make the film.
What about you, Ben?
I think the best song is Visions of Gideon. But same as Alex, I just think this film is... You know what? I might just put it on in the background. Just look at it. Not certain scenes. Look at the background. Not that scene. Just the background.
Not that one scene.
Just have the peach scene happening in the background of your Zoom call at work. I agree, to be honest. Visions of Gideon is definitely the better song. And I'll put movie over the songs because I was provided with 2 example songs which would have fit in the film just as well. I'm still struggling with this film, if it's good or bad, or mid, or anywhere, or all of them. I don't know. But yeah, movie. I'm going to pick movie.
Change it depending on your audience, D. If you're speaking to Timothee Chalamet, say you hate it.
Yeah.
If you're speaking to Armie Hammer, run.
If you speak to Armie Hammer, yeah, you're in the wrong situation. You've gone to the wrong nightclub.
You can't run because you've been strapped down.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Allegedly can't run.
You've got a fork in your thigh.
Allegedly.
So that brings an end to another episode of That Song from That Movie, the 91st episode of That Song from That Movie. Let us know which one you prefer, the movie or the song, and which song you think is better on one of our many social media platforms: Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Hive,
The
Instagram.
heck are these things?
I know.
I'm out of touch.
It's annoying. Alex, what is our social media handle?
TSFTM Pod.
Thank you. So you can also help the podcast by sharing this on a random subreddit. But Ben, what random subreddit should I share it on this week?
Ooh, Cannibal Holocaust.
That's already flooded with Armie Hammer stuff.
That's the name of his holiday place in the Caymans. Allegedly.
So you can also help the podcast by signing up to our Patreon, buying our merch, leaving us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. And if this is the first episode you've ever listened to, first of all, I'm sorry, but also subscribe.
What a great episode.
All the links are in the show notes.
We're really grateful, Guy.
So all I have now is do some goodbyes. So it's goodbye from myself, goodbye, and goodbye from Alex.
When are we doing Switch? Vibe to vibe a second. It's the club girl, why you arrive naked? Hear that? How the veteran glide the record, but don't download.
This
go
is
on
pure,
by
this is
the
a
record.
devolution, isn't it?
And goodbye from Ben.
Let's sue Facebook.
So goodbye, everybody. Bye.
For years, I thought he was a twin. I'm looking for a worse snatch. I don't like that saying, actually. Can you cut that out?
Amazing.
That was lovely. Thank you.